When you move, you need a reliable company led by passionate folks, eager to assist its customers during a transitional process that needs to be smooth. Call Essential Moving Experts at 844-368-5750 for all your local and long-distance moving needs. You can rely on Essential Moving Experts. Mention the Big O Show and get $150 off. Family owned and operated, they offer free 30-day storage, full-service moving, fully licensed, bonded, and insured. Moving was never so easy. EssentialMovingExperts.com.
Statements or beliefs expressed on the following program by the host, guests, or callers are not necessarily the opinions of FantasyXS.com, Media Group Inc., ownership, management, sponsors, or website.
The Hurricanes game is over. Time to break it down. It's all about the U. The Edge Energy Drink Miami Hurricanes Postgame Show has made landfall. The postgame show is on the SportsTalk305 Network and broadcasting live from WalkOns Sports Bistro in Kendall. The show is mastered by Sean Stanley and Chad Shobe. Visit WalkOns Sports Bistro in Kendall at 9065 Southwest 162nd Avenue. Enjoy WalkOns authentic and mouthwatering Louisiana cuisine prepared fresh from scratch. Closes daily at midnight, 7 days a week. Here's your hosts, Orlando Alzugaray and Mike McCoy.
Oh, welcome back, Hurricanes fans, and not a good one as the Hurricanes end up on the short end of the stick against UNC.
That was tough.
But expected. It's not like we're sitting here surprised and shocked that they ended up losing this game. Unfortunately, it sucks. But, you know, some of the things, and we talked about this, Mike, throughout the game, it's hard to run an offense when you can't run the ball.
Yeah. No.
And you're very one-dimensional. It's really difficult overall to kind of go out there. And let me tell you something. They gave them a game.
Yeah.
They hung in there. UNC, for me, was the better team overall. And I was kind of baffled that even Vegas had Miami favored in all of this. But I got to give them credit because it was a game that maybe started off kind of ugly because they marched down really quickly, and then you're like, oh, man, what are we in for? And then all of a sudden they were able to fight and stay in the game, so I give them a lot of credit. But the little mistakes, whether it's Al Blade staying out of bounds, whether it's Mallory with a key drop after having a terrific game, actually, really played a good game, and he had a key drop. And then, you know, I thought Tyler Van Dyke had a really good game, and then he had some key turnovers also, you know, in the process. It was one of those frustrating games that you had to be closer to perfect in order to pull it off.
I mean, you hit the nail on the head when you say, you know, it's going to be hard to win any game when you're running 24 times for 43 yards, netting 1.8, under 2 yards a carry. Tyler Van Dyke threw the ball 56 times today. That's a career high. Threw for 497 yards today. That's a career high. And just the timing on that interception was terrible. But that's not where the game was lost. Like you said, he played a good game. Mallory played a good game. Miami was down to their third offensive center, okay? Had their injuries to two starters on the offensive line. That Knighton fumble is the one that probably did it for me. Miami did.
Another key mistake.
Yeah, another key mistake, you know. But defensively, Miami ended. It felt like Kevin Steele found out that offense at one point. You force Drake May, the country's best quarterback, you know, depending on who you talk to two interceptions, doubled up on his season total of interceptions today. That defensive line was starting to provide pressure. They were getting to him, but you would figure with as balanced as Miami likes to be, that if they're able to run the ball for at least maybe even close to 100 yards, that they would probably come away victorious. But even with that being said, last time I looked at the box score, I'm going to pull it up right here. Miami led the game at the half in terms of time of possession. They end the game 29-10 time of possession, UNC 30-49. You can call it even, but with balanced, as Coach Cristobal likes to be, definitely didn't run the ball as effectively as he wanted to. But and then another mistake. I know you said it was a 53-yarder, but that Andy Borregala's field goal was makeable. You make that field goal, you're talking overtime.
I get it, but
he had the leg.
I know, but I just have a hard time telling a young man, professional in today's NFL. Maybe I'm a little disappointed you didn't hit the 53-yarder. I just have a hard time telling a college kid, yeah, you didn't hit a 53-yarder. You're the reason why you didn't win.
No, definitely not the reason.
I just, you know what I'm saying? I just kind of have a hard time holding that one against him. I can hold the interceptions against Van Dyke. I can hold the turnover by Mallory or the drop.
Right.
Whatever. I can the rooster.
Yeah, the fumble.
It looked like he had crow's fingers. That's why he dropped that stuff. So, I get those. I can give them blame there, but man, hard for me to pick on that young man.
No. Of course. No. Yeah. It was just disappointing because, it's probably one that he normally nails.
Yes.
That he would nail maybe 8, 9 out of 10 times. He had the leg. It was just slightly left. But enough blame to go all around. The good thing that if you want to take something away from this game, and I'm not one for moral victories, Miami didn't get flattened. All right. They looked shaky at first. They adjusted. TVD seems to have gotten the cobwebs out of his system up until late where he had that lone interception. And, if I'm taking positives, Colby Young looked to be, even though it was a couple plays only, diamond in the rough at the receiver position, but just not enough running the ball, man. That's where you got to kind of hang your hat.
Balance, man.
No balance at all. And the defense seemed to have figured it out in the second half. So a couple of things to hang your hat on.
No, listen, if you want to look at some of the other positives, you had a quarterback that went into the game with only 1 interception. You forced 2 on him.
Right.
So that was nice to see. But unfortunately, it's a game about winning. Yeah. And that's what Miami could not do in this game is win. And in the end, that's what all of you are going to be happy with is a win. You're not going to be happy with being close or coming up short. This isn't like you're facing Alabama or Georgia that you're seriously outclassed and you hung in there. No, these are teams that you're supposed to be hanging with and beating. And as I told you in the pregame show, you start to look at the talent of North Carolina and the talent of Miami, and that's what's changed. The talent level of Miami has gone down, and that's what Mario Cristobal has to do now. He has to find a way to pick it up.
Yeah.
We're going to talk to Manny Navarro. He'll join us. We'll also hear from Mario Cristobal. We're coming to you live from WalkOns in Kendall. This is the myedgedrink.com Miami Hurricanes postgame show, live here from WalkOns in Kendall. And again, we're going to be out here for all of the Miami Hurricanes pre- and postgame shows. Next week, we're going to have a bunch of giveaways. So we're going to have some fun. We're going to get some raffle tickets, give them away. And during the game, we'll give some stuff out. We'll have some fun. So we'll talk to our friends at Caneswear and Perdomo and all kinds of good stuff. So we will have fun out here next week with all of that. And Edge Energy Drink is going to be out here also. So that's going to be a lot of fun here at Walk-On. So please come on out here and join us next week for our pre- and post-game shows. So we'll have some really good fun, and hopefully we can cheer on for a victory. Halftime, it wasn't, it was pretty close overall. It was a contest that could be had, and that's one of the things that, at least when you come out of this game, you had your opportunities. But the question is, Mike, what do you do? What do you do to close that gap? You haven't been able to close the gap on certain games here, and that's why you've lost 3 in a row now, because you can't close the gap on certain games. The Middle Tennessee game, there was no gap there. That was an ass kicking.
That was,
that was an ass kicking. You had no gap. The gap there was way too big to overcome. But in Texas A&M, you had opportunities. You had opportunities here. And how do you get to the point where you play some clean football and you stop making the mistakes that end up costing you games?
Well, I mean, everybody's going through it. All right, I'm not everybody's going through, but everybody goes through it at some point, especially when you have a new staff or whatever the case is. Learning how to win. Right now, Miami they haven't learned how to win. You got to get that one, whatever it takes, whether it's a wild bounce here or there or some luck or whatever. Once you find a way how to win, all right, you build on that. But until that happens, you're going to keep finding ways how to lose. And right now, that's what's happening to Miami. Florida State, with all the talk that everybody's thought how sorry they were going to be, they're finding ways to win. They're losing to the teams that they're supposed to lose to. And LSU's a dumpster fire, so they probably should have won that game, FSU. So they're winning the games that they're supposed to, right? Miami was supposed to lose against Texas A&M. We're supposed to lose against MTSU, but Miami was supposed to lose today, depending on who you ask, except whoever made the line in Vegas. But you got to get that one. And Miami was right there. You like to see the progress. You want to see it come full circle, because after that, stop on third down when Miami was getting the ball with a minute 14, which, called, by the way. He even said they're going to get the ball back with a minute 14. They had a chance. They were driving down the field. All Miami needed to do was get into field goal range, and Tyler Van Dyke makes the worst pass of the game with that interception at the end.
Mistakes. And when we talk about you don't have enough talent, okay, so here's the thing. How much do we lay the mistakes on the coaches?
Today, look, every loss, in my opinion, it's players and coaches. I'm a players play, coaches coach type of guy, all right? That MTSU loss, to me, was a 90% on the players, all right?
Well, that's where you and I are completely different.
Right.
I'm on the coaches on that one, and this one I'm on the players.
This one you're on the – I mean, look, Mallory had a key drop. Mallory had a key drop. Rooster had a key fumble. Moragala's on the miss, which we just talked about. It's hard to blame him.
Van Dyke. Big interception at the end there.
Big interception at the end. And so I don't know. I don't know. I really don't know, because I thought you played well enough to win. No?
No, not overall, because of the mistakes. You can't. That's the problem, Mikey, that you're not going to win any of these games if you're not going to play a clean game, if you're not going to play. Look, right. Somebody on the chat board, where was it? He says Knighton lost the game for us. But somebody was saying that, these players are finding ways to lose games. And I forgot who I saw it. I saw it on the chat board there. And that's the problem there, if you have, if you have players that are finding ways to lose, like you just said, FSU's finding ways to win. So then what are we doing here? Are we crediting the coaches and Mike Norvell for getting the players turned around? Because I got to tell you, the Mike Norvell era did not start off well. I wasn't impressed with the guy whatsoever. Mm-mm. I thought it was a mistake. I thought Dion's coming pretty soon. And then all of a sudden things start turning around this year. I'm going, well, maybe I was wrong. This guy, maybe he can turn it around. Who knows?
And he's in year, 2 or 3 of his process? Let Mario get
3.
I think it's 3.
Yeah.
Let Mario get there, right? But, again, like you said, they're finding ways to win, whereas Miami is not right there yet. And FSU's also right now getting into the gauntlet of their schedule. They lost one against Wake, and we'll see the next couple games.
But Wake's pretty good.
Wake's pretty good. Like I said, they're getting into the gauntlet of their schedule.
Yeah. Let's give Wake. Let's not call Wake Forest what they normally used to be. Wake Forest.
No. That's
They've actually done a decent job there with that football. It's like, dude, I'm sorry, but Kentucky can play football now.
Yeah, no,
okay?
I guess a bunch of basketball schools in that top 25, like we said in the pregame.
There's some schools now that they actually can play some football, man. So, but when
you look at, I'm sorry to cut you off. When you look at, third down efficiency, Miami 5 of 15, not what you want.
No.
The key of the game for me, number one key of the game for me, I talked about it all pregame, getting off the field on third downs in Miami too many times throughout the game. Did not do that on third and obvious, not 3rd and 4, not 3rd and 3, not 3rd and whatever the case. I'm talking about the 3rd and 9s and the 3rd and 11s and the 3rd and 8s. Miami could not get off the field. UNC 7 of 14 on third downs, 2 of 3 on fourth downs today. And we talked about, the quarterback, May. He was the second ranked quarterback according to PFF in terms of his grading on third and fourth down situations.
It was, by the way, give you the stats. May finished 19 of 28 for 309 yards, 2 touchdowns, and 2 interceptions. Hood was the leading rusher. He got banged up towards the end at 13 rushes for 74 yards. May was the second leading rusher, the quarterback, 14 for 53. He had most of those, by the way, in the first half of the game. He didn't really rush nearly as much. He had 41 yards in the first half. So he only picked up another 12 in the second half. Jones was the leading receiver, 2 for 80 and a touchdown. Downs, who caught a ton of balls, 6 for 69 for 1 touchdown in the game. For Miami, Van Dyke was 42 of 57 for 496 yards, 3 touchdowns, and an interception. And really, considering that defense, that's not a lot of points that you put up.
No.
Considering how bad that defense is and how many yards you got, you're not going to win games at all if Henry Parrish is running 11 rushes for 19 yards.
Nope. And I
mean that's disgusting. Your offensive line is pathetic. And here's where you and I are going to disagree, right? You got offensive line people there. And I get it. You're on your third center, but you got to find a way to get more production out of the running game if your offensive line people are, supposedly, and I know they're good, but they're not doing a good job of helping out in the running game, dude. I mean, 11 for 19. This team rushed 24 times for 43 yards. Less than 2 yards a carry.
I got nothing. I got nothing. No, I got nothing. I got nothing on that. You look at UNC, who ran for 161, and I get it. Drake May had 53 of those, and then Hood, and then Hampton had 36.
but Drake is something that is part of the running game. It's not a flukish thing.
No.
It's a normal thing. You know what I'm saying?
No.
It's not something we should dismiss like it was flukish.
Oh,
no.
I'm just saying
it's
that
part of the game plan.
Yeah, no, 100%. I'm just saying outside of the running backs.
Right,
And,
yes.
and some of those runs, they weren't designed. There was maybe 2, maybe 3 runs that he kept that were designed.
I agree.
I agree. The other ones, and I forgot Tommy Ashley, who joined us pregame.
Mm-hmm.
He was the one that was saying, it was like, look, when your defense is playing as good as it can, and then you have everything covered up, something more backbreaking than a 53-yard bomb is a quarterback scrambling for 11, getting a first down, scrambling. This is exactly what Drake May did. Look, he's one of the better quarterbacks in the nation for a reason as a freshman. Miami played, I think, good enough, maybe not good enough offensively. I mean, look, 496.
And a terrible defense. You got to put more points on the board. I mean, Appalachian State put up way more points on North Carolina than Miami did. Twice as much.
This is where the coaching, I have an issue with the coaching, and it's not relative to this game only. It's a Gaddis thing. We've seen it. He's great between the 20s. The lack of creativity in the red zone worries me. I just want to see it.
You bring up the fade.
Thank you. There
was nobody there.
Nothing.
Skinner could do it.
Even Mallory can
do it. What's the
Ladson.
Yeah,
the guy that caught the touchdown, Colby Young.
What is it, Frank Ladson Jr.?
Ladson Jr. Colby Young caught a touchdown. All right. There's plenty of guys. And by the way, I keep saying this, you don't need a 6'3" and taller receiver to run a fade. I've seen, Braxton Berrios catch fades. I've seen Stacey Coley do it.
Well, as long as you play big.
As long as you play big.
You have to be able to play big. Now, Frank Ladson is 6'3". He is big.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So I like that, but there is no – I'm with you. Now, having said all that, and and so far Gaddis has not won me over, Canes Nation. I'm sorry. I'm not impressed with Josh Gaddis. But to his credit, I got to give him a little love. At least he sped up the offense for Tyler today.
And we saw that.
I think that's part of why he had success.
Right.
And one more thing I got to tell you that it hurts Josh Gaddis and it hurts Tyler Van Dyke, and we talked about this. So I'm looking at it at halftime, right? And I mentioned this to Mike. At halftime, your leading pass catchers, Mallory 4 for 69, Knighton 1 for 41, and Skinner 2 for 39. Your leaders are 2 tight ends and a running back. So now the game ends. Will Mallory is your number 1 guy, 8 for 115. Now, on the back end of it, Brashard Smith and Ladson stepped in and ended up being your number 2 and number 3 guys. Now, each had 59 yards. So 8 receptions for 59 is not really a productive night. 5 for 59 is kind of mediocre. You're barely over 10 yards a catch. You know what I'm saying? And that to me is you're a chain mover, which is maybe what Smith is. He's probably more of a chain mover as it is. But my point is, how do you run an offense when you don't have big play wide receivers?
Well, you know what? Oh, that's kind of what this offense is, because this offense, 5 games of examples, right?
Right. I understand where you're going now. Yeah, go ahead.
And it's a move the chains offense. It's not a boom or bust offense. So that's good and bad. Good, you can rest your defense. Great. Bad, when you need a score right now, there's only 2 minutes on the clock. We're an offense that runs the ball that takes 5 and 6 minutes per drive to get in the red zone.
Terrible for college football, NFL football, video games. It's all an offensive world. And so if you don't have big playmakers and chunk yardage, you are going to struggle at every level of football. And I don't care if it's high school, dude. Okay? And I don't even follow high school that much, but I'm just saying, you need players to get you chunk plays. Yeah. And especially the 2 sports that I do follow is college and the NFL. You got to be able to score points. And Miami, that is a real problem for them right now. Mm-hmm. They don't have playmakers on the edge. And we're talking about a Canes nation that has just been spoiled with playmakers on the outside. And now you can't find one if your life depends on it. And to me, that is a major problem. You can't run the ball, and you don't have players that can get big plays on the outside. Will Mallory had a great game. 115 yards on 8 catches. He had a fantastic game. I know he had the drop, and that drop's going to stand out. But the problem is you put Will Mallory in the middle of your offense and saying, dude, you're our end-all, be-all. Sorry, he's not that player. You can't do that to him, and that's the problem too.
Do you remember what the MO for Gaddis was? And everybody was excited about it, so everybody cannot go back on their word right now. Okay, and I'm not saying that you're one of these people, but the general consensus that everyone was excited about getting Gaddis was what? He, uses his he caters his offense to the strength of his team, and that he loves his tight ends. That's what everybody was loving, because Skinner, Mallory, Arroyo, this and that, 2 tight end sets. I can't wait. Run heavy, have 2 tight ends. Everybody loved it. You can't go back on it now. Right. So, yes, you would love to see, and I get it. I'm one of them too. I want my number 1 receiver to play like my number 1 receiver. And then, yes, a tight end is a quarterback's best friend, especially when he's struggling, just like TVD was coming into the game. So maybe this is what TVD needed. Maybe he needed to target Mallory some, but I totally understand what you're saying. When your tight end is, unless your offense is built that way, and right now, I don't think it's safe to say Miami's offense is built that way, even though Gaddis does love tight ends. This is a running team. At their best, Miami's a running team, and they were not able to get the ball running today. It's part of the reason why they lost.
Yep. No,
part of the reason.
Right, part of the reason.
Big
There's lots of reasons, and there's lots to go around. The question is, what does Mario do to fix this? He's at 2-3 now on the season, and it's a long season. You still have 7 more games left on the schedule. And the problem is, here's the thing. There are no off games. There are no off weeks because you're not good enough. Every game. Vatek is terrible. It's going to be a mission for them anyways. Duke is improved. Virginia, but it'll give them problems.
Yeah.
FSU will give them problems. Georgia Tech, but we'll give them problems. Even though they're not really that good. Clemson, well, that's a loss already. And you got Pitt. Yeah, well, you're not expecting them to beat Clemson, right? Not this team, right?
Not the way they're looking now. Not when you're running for 43 yards on that defensive line. Hell no. Look, the worst thing you could do playing football is become one-dimensional. Right. And Miami was that today.
Right. Think about this. You're a defense. You're preparing for the Canes. and you know that they can't run the ball, and they have nobody on the outsides that are any threat.
I dare you to throw.
And that becomes a real problem. That kind of limits what you can do. And then the other thing is, and you saw it too in the game, there are many times where Tyler Van Dyke was being pressured, and Tyler doesn't have the athleticism to get out of this. So, on that 4th and short that they called, and they pressured him right away, and they sacked him up, what was it, close to midfield, right?
Yeah.
That play.
Yeah.
That was a disaster because you don't have the player that can get out of it. And you wonder what the call was, because you're in a shotgun, and then you're waiting for a developing play, and you can't wait. If you're in a shotgun, it's snap, throw. And you only needed a couple yards.
Right. I think it was 2. I think it was 4th and 2.
Yeah. So why are you holding the ball and waiting for something to develop? So you wonder what Josh Gaddis called, or what the hell was Tyler Van Dyke seeing.
Right.
But the problem again becomes, if people on the edges don't scare you, and the running game don't scare you, and neither one is productive, man, this is a really limited offense for the Miami Hurricanes.
You want to know? You want to know what can? I figured it out. Just hearing you talk about quarterback play, I somewhat figured it out. And again, I've never coached down of football at any level in my life.
Did you sleep at a Holiday Inn last night?
And I had a Snickers bar before starting the
show.
show.
Then you're set. Go ahead.
Check this out.
You're ready to go to Hall of Fame.
I am not a fan of using 2 quarterbacks, but I am a fan of using them in certain situations. Jake is more mobile. Ja'Cory Brown is an athlete. So how about using them kind of like how the Gators used that Leak Tebow combination when they won under Meyer for the first time?
Yeah, but that's a dominant team, so you were able to get away with it, and they had all kinds of weapons everywhere, and it was a really good team. The problem here is this is not a very good team, and then, as you see, they're already predictable because they're not scary on the outsides and they can't run. So if you start doing the interchanging of the quarterbacks, you also become predictable, because if you bring Van Dyke in, you're definitely not running, you're passing. And if you bring in Garcia, look out, the quarterback's going to run. So all of a sudden now you also become very predictable in that sense too. So either you bench Van Dyke and you keep Garcia out there because he brings the element of athleticism, or you stay with the guy that played pretty well today overall. I can't necessarily blame him for the loss.
The thing is, Jake can throw and run. 100% with you about what you said about TVD. He's not a statue back there, but he is not the most mobile guy.
Bro,
all right, I get it. Long strider.
He's pretty close to a statue.
and Ja'Cory, you're going to get with him. Strong arm athlete. So, I mean, that's what coaching comes into play.
I think people mix up athlete and statue. When you can get out of the pocket and avoid tackles and get yardage, then you're an athlete. But if it's already a design run that you're running to the outside and he has to run to the outside or something like that, yeah, he can do that for you. But he has no athleticism in the pocket to avoid, the rush. And that's the problem with Tyler. It's not his fault. He's just a big dude, bro. Most guys at his size aren't really, that mobile or that agile to be able to dodge, defenders. All right, we are ready. Let's go. Mario Cristobal addressing the Meteors.
Quarterback sneak didn't go in. Wide zone, running back cut inside. The 3 technique versus bear on a wide zone with a wing. Not supposed to happen. Supposed to stay outside. The pass at the end, obviously, they had eyes for it, so didn't get it done. No, won't be. Right. It's just, let's go right to it, man. We knew we had work to do getting here at Miami, and that's what we're all about. It doesn't matter. We still, like you mentioned, moral victories ain't it. It's just not it, especially when you have opportunities. We gave ourselves an opportunity in the fourth quarter to have the ball and potentially tie or win the game. We came up short there as well. Do we see effort and better resiliency? Yes. Are there very fixable, should not go sideways type situations? Yeah. And do you address that directly and bluntly? Absolutely. There's no sugarcoating it, just really, really upset, proud of the effort in terms of, I mean, guys, you saw it. I mean, they were grinding. They kept coming no matter what, and really had the right attitude, the right mentality, really good pregame, really good physicality. They're a good football team, especially heck up front on both sides of the ball. We threw the ball well. We didn't pass it well. I'm sorry. We threw the ball. We didn't run it well. And they did some things on third down that I think they were 50% on third down. We were about 5 of 14, closer to 36%. But yeah. Yeah, I got to get on the film and see what's up because, some things look like they're there, and all of a sudden it's 1 yard or no yards or 2 yards. And, you run power and you got a good double team and you feel like you got to kick out on the 9 technique. You should, it should be a successful play. Wide zone versus some of those things should be good, but we're short. We're short on something. Sometimes it's double team is too thin. Sometimes the guy allows penetration. Sometimes the back doesn't read it the right way. We're out of sync in the run game. It's not a matter of effort, but we've got to do a better job. We tried every which way to get the ball going on the ground. We ran split zone, counter, power, wide zone, jet. I mean, you name it. And then Tyler got so hot that we said, hey, let's just go with it. And he did a really good job. Will did a great job. Frank continues to do really well. Burchard is a guy that's really stepped up, particularly in his habits. And sitting down and meeting with him and his family, it's obvious he's an awesome young man. And he just started putting in time and work and just cut out all the nonsense and the BS and has really stepped up in a big-time way. So proud of him, fired up for him going forward. He's a young guy, and he's got a world of football ahead of him. We expect to be a good playmaker for us. Good to see Kobe Young step up and do what he did as well. Jaleel Skinner, man, he's a great player. And, he's obviously in a bad place right now mentally because he was trying to get out of bounds and he didn't. And, hey, lesson learned, but great competitor and a guy that, bottom line is, look, we got to continue to work on issues that are preventing us from being really good and not sidestepping, those things. So. We're in cover 2, and at the beginning, we jumped the hook, in cover 2, and we're supposed to play over the top of that one release, and so we made a mistake. We thought we had a beat on what they were doing, and sometimes players do that, so we got to have a little bit more discipline when it comes to that. They played extremely hard, especially up front. I know they got out of the cage a couple times, but more times than not, we got him on the ground. He's a really good player. He extends plays. He finds a way to get in and out of stuff. I thought we got tackled a couple times, particularly on the touchdown that was thrown. Thought Akeem Mesro got tackled, but that's all right. It's part of the game. Sometimes it gets sticky and muddy in there. We just started playing assignment football, and we stuck to it. We showed discipline, which goes with it, right? So that's probably the best way to describe it. We showed more discipline in the second half and started executing at a higher level. Elijah will not be returning for the rest of the year. He had a pretty significant injury. Justice hurt himself pretty good, so he did not return. I think Jakai is going to be okay. Tyreek Stevenson, they were checking him out, just being safe and using protocol. Who else did you mention? I'm sorry. Yeah, Cyrus had a dental thing that he couldn't dress or whatnot, but he's fine now. Lauren Seymour is coming off of, he should be back by next week, should be a full speed player. You're welcome. Mm-hmm. Well, anybody that's playing really good, we're going to see more of, Obviously, I haven't seen the film yet, but I know he played really well. And he's a guy that, again, we mentioned, I think, last week we need to count on him more. So good to see him go out there and make plays. Great young man, great player. Yeah, he, what was he today? Can you guys give it to him as 2 for 3? Is that what he was? 2 for 3. 2 for 3, kicked the ball deep. He missed one. I thought the snap was high. So getting that snap down and trying to kick that thing, that throws the timing off a little bit. He's always been excellent. He's been really good. I thought his onside kick was on point. We stepped out of bounds. We're not supposed to do that. We're supposed to stay on the field of play. Unless we get pushed out of bounds, we'll have to look at that on film. And he's been accountable the entire year. I'm sure he would like to have that one back. Right. Well, they're one of the reasons I came to Miami. Yes, sir. They're one of the reasons I came here. I mean, I've been watching Miami football since I was, since I can remember, and going to the Orange Bowl. And look, man, it's why we're here. It's why we're here, and we're all about it. We're all about the work and the lumps that come with it, and it stinks and it's painful to deal with. But you know what? That's what we're here for, and gladly ready for whatever comes with it to make sure we get back to a certain level, and that's what we're gonna do. So, obviously, and I appreciate you guys being here. We're right back to work. Okay, thank you, guys.
I gotta say, that would be a lot better if we raised the mics there. I do love that he doesn't mince any words. That's my style. I love that. He knows it's a shit show. He inherited a shit show. It's a shit show. We all know it's a shit show. And they've got to go out there and fix it. And he knows it. And he sees it, and he's trying to correct it. But he inherited a group of players that they can only do so much. And the screwed up part about tonight is you see the Jalen Knighton, drop. You see Mallory, the interception late by Van Dyke. Al Blades stays out of bounds. The other kid couldn't get out of bounds. You could go through all of that, right? And then throughout this entire freaking game, they had 3 penalties for 28 yards. 3 penalties for 28 yards. So they had enough discipline not to make a lot of mistakes in that sense. And they've done this a couple times already, because early in the season they did that also. And then they had the Middle Tennessee game where they had all kinds of mistakes and all that kind of stuff. But because I remember in the Texas A&M game, they didn't have a lot of penalties either in that game. And it's just, he sees it. He's telling you exactly the mistakes they're making and everything. And he's very well aware of it. You know what I mean? And there are zero excuses. So to me, at least I like that, because I hate when people make excuses about anything that they do. Just call it like you see it. You did it, you didn't, whatever, move on. But no excuses. I'll say that.
The thing is, you know it. I know it. Mario knows it. But not everybody knows it. Because there's idiots in the chat right now. I'm done. God is this. Mario that. Mario's trash. No, dummies.
Well, that's gonna happen. But that's gonna happen. There's no patience in this world.
Dummies.
And by the way, this will build as the season goes on, Mike. Get ready for it.
Oh yeah. Oh, I'm ready.
You're gonna have more and more people get completely off the Mario Cristobal bandwagon, and they're gonna blame him, and they're gonna say, well, he doesn't have it, and all that kind of stuff. And so this is part of the game that they're playing, unfortunately.
I just want to see continue because look, there was a loss today, right? 3 games skid, 3 losses in 4 weeks because the bye week last week. Did you see progress today? It sounded like you just did. It sounded like you did.
Here's my problem.
In some respects, there was.
It's like this because you played like this kind of in the Texas A&M game where you moved the ball between the 20s. Remember, you were so excited about the yardage, and I said the yardage doesn't mean anything if you don't finish it off.
You're right.
So that's what this season has been. You have your moments where you make stupid mistakes.
Right.
You have moments where you don't. You have moments where you're making all kinds of penalties, and then you don't make penalties. And then, but one thing that's been consistent throughout the whole season, you're not good at scoring points. You're not good at finishing off drives.
Right.
And again, this happened today. This is the reason why you're on the short end of the stick. So improvements, no. It's just the same kind of inconsistencies because you have the same bright spots you had now. You've had those bright spots before, and you've had the negatives. So for me, improvement will be when you start to play a whole game and you finish drives and you score points and you can run the ball. You know what I mean? I can't say you've improved until you can run the ball.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? I can't say you've improved until your defense makes the key stops in games. Your offense gets the key scores in games. Then I know that the flukish little things that you do that are good, well, do them on a consistent basis so they're no longer flukish.
To me, the other than the mistakes that everybody's going to be talking about, the lack of creativity in the red zone, that is concerning. All right, that's concerning because I get it. If you are inside the 5 or inside the 3, I mean, I'd probably line up in I formation too. Goal line formation. I get it, but it's not working. If it's not working, then give me something else. I am not a fan of lining up in a shotgun and throwing. I mean, we saw Russell Wilson do that again on this past week. We saw them Seattle lose a Super Bowl that way. But when the former isn't working, you got to throw the kitchen sink. And I get it. That's when that's why I bring up a different type of QB system, even if it seems like you're being obvious. That's a coaching thing too. Okay, if I'm putting Jacurri in, they're probably expecting me to run. If I'm putting TVD in, they're probably expecting me to throw. Right. I don't know. I've never called plays. I'm just going off the whim here. But the lack of creativity in the red zone is probably the only complaint I have about Gaddis. It's a big complaint, but it's probably the only one that I have because he keeps the defense off the field. He moves drives. It's not his fault guys can't catch passes. It's not his fault 70 keeps missing assignments, and it's not his fault that TVD was off so much, right? But it is his fault mainly if I can't get the right formation, or not even the right formation, the right play call off inside the red zone, inside the 5. I have an issue with that.
Don't forget, MyEdgeDrink.com, proud sponsor of our program. You are listening to the MyEdgeDrink.com Miami Hurricanes postgame show. You just heard Mario Cristobal. If you want the finest energy drink on the planet, delicious, smooth, and zero aftertaste, go to MyEdgeDrink.com. Check it out, order it, and use our code Big O. You will get 10% off. Next week, we're going to have a whole bunch of taste testing out here at WalkOns in Kendall. So if you want to try it, you can come on out here and try it because we're going to have it all over the place throughout the broadcast. So come on out and join us here at WalkOns for the game next week. We'll get you ready for that. Mike Garcia says, tired of being patient. Yeah, well, nobody's patient, bro. I mean, listen, for 2 years, I had to argue with the Tua haters. Be patient. He has no coaching. He has no talent. He's not healthy. Like in the first year, he wasn't healthy. It wasn't really his offense and all that. And then the second year, no offensive coordinators, no talent. And I had a ton of you idiots that got off the Tua bandwagon and were hating the kid and all that. And guess what? You were all wrong. Why? Because you had no stinking patience. You didn't want to wait till he's fully healthy. You didn't want to wait till he actually has offensive coaches. You didn't want to wait till he actually has weapons. Same thing's going to happen with Mario Cristobal. Those of you that want to get off now because he inherited a crappy team and you're blaming him, you will be looking stupid again in a year or two when he gets enough recruiting classes and he gets to start to turn the thing around. And then all of a sudden you start seeing players like Javon Holland dressed in a Hurricanes uniform. And then, listen, I've always said this. You've got to give a college coach 3 to 5 years. Minimum. Easily, because they've got to turn over the roster. Now, there are cases where you inherited a loaded program. Maybe they expect you to turn things around a little faster. You know what I'm saying? That's understandable. But is the University of Miami a loaded program? No, I don't think so. Okay? Now, Stanky Fingers, gets booted out of Ohio State. Right? Well, guess what? Ryan Day takes over. He takes over a loaded program because Stanky Fingers had it rolling. You know what I'm saying? So it's a whole different ball game when you look at it that way. Okay? But in this case, Mario's not inheriting his kind of players. I think you guys saw it the last couple years. We had morons on the sidelines laughing and dancing during losses. We had idiots on the sidelines celebrating wins against Central Eastern Michigan like it was some big win or something like that. So the attitude of these kind of players, which is still there, the only problem is that Mario came in now as the stern, straight up stepdad, and these kids are like used to, laziness, and so now it's shock, and some of them are going to fall by the wayside. Some of them will adapt, and some of them won't be good enough. Problem is, the ones that are going to adapt are going to be few and far between. So now it's about rebuilding this program with his kind of players. So you really cannot measure Mario until years 3 and 4, really. That's when you start to say, okay, I need to see the word you wanted, improvement. I need to see that you're headed in the right direction, that the trajectory is in the right direction. Next year, it should get slightly better. But then in year 3 and 4, that's when we start to see, because with the transfer portal, I think that speeds up certain things now. I don't think you need 4 and 5 years anymore. I think you need at least 3 or 4 to kind of turn things around, because the transfer portal will shorten that turnaround for you every year as you're able to add some pieces that can play right away. That's what saved Manny's ass, basically.
100%. Manny.
Basically, the games you got out of Manny that were decent, it's because you went and got
Jalen Phillips.
Yeah, and Quincy and Roche and all these other cats that you ended up getting, Charleston Rambo and all these kind of guys, Osborne and, it goes on and on and on. And it saved his ass, because the guys he was recruiting overall, the character of those kids, it's what I just talked about. This is what you got to erase. So if you don't want to be patient, don't be patient. Get off the bandwagon. The good thing is, as I've said this over the years, most of us aren't following what you think anyways. So when you flip-flop, nobody's following it anyway. So it doesn't really matter, So you can get off the bandwagon now and then get back on it a year or two from now and say you were on it the entire time because nobody's really tracking what you're saying anyways. You know what I'm saying? So it's not a big deal. I live with that. You guys don't live with that.
There's something I wanted to share here.
So flip-flop all you want.
There's these PFF grades that came out after the Middle Tennessee State game are interesting.
Yeah.
And I bring that game up because I want to talk about the type of guy that Mario's brought in to add to your point, all right? These are PFF grades versus after the Middle Tennessee State game. And I want to ask you what these names have in common, okay, Oh? You ready? Darrell Jackson, Akeem Mesidor, Daryl Porter, Antonio Moultrie, and I'll start off with those are some of the names in the top 10 of the guys that graded out.
The newest Canes.
What are they? Transfers, right?
Yeah.
Who brought those transfers in?
Mario.
Okay.
Right.
So, to your point, after these guys come in, he turns over the roster, all right? That's how much of a stench there is in that locker room from previous regimes and
it's
bad
obvious,
habits and things like that.
Just watch the games, bro.
Because you want to know what? It's not like if Manny didn't leave the cupboard completely bare, because Manny brought in good classes. Look at the COVID class. Leonard Taylor, James Williams, 2 5-star guys, these Palmetto guys, Romello Brinson, all these running backs, Thad, Rooster. These are guys that were wanted by the Clemsons and the FSUs and the Bamas and Ohio States. Everybody wanted these guys. So the cupboard was not totally bare, but bad habits, all right, are all over the place. And that's big when you don't have chemistry, when you have bad work habits. And then when you don't adapt to coaching, when you don't adapt to actual coaching, which Miami probably didn't have a good grasp of in the previous regime, it's a culture shock. 17 guys transferred out, which was a good thing. But it's the point that I'm trying to get across. I'm trying to
easily 17 more will transfer in this offseason.
Easy, no doubt. But the point that I'm trying to make is I'm just adding to your piggybacking off of your point that just give it some time. And if you don't want to, okay, then go ahead and keep sounding like an idiot. But that's not why Miami lost today. Just too many mistakes. too many mistakes.
Yeah.
And even with the mistakes that you made, you still had the ball at the end of the game to at least tie it, because all you had to do was get into field goal range. Miami is this close, guys. Miami's this close. And I get it. I'm tired of it. But guess what? Miami made the first step that they were supposed to make, getting rid of an administration that didn't care in the athletic department and a real coaching staff with real leadership. And you build from there.
Yep.
All right. Another good thing that I think you can take from this game is I don't think it hurts recruiting that much, because they didn't get their asses kicked.
Yeah, no, you're right. Actually, this may not hurt recruiting.
May not hurt.
Well, we
recruiting.
talked about this in the pregame, that if you lose a respectable game,
Right.
And yeah, listen, no, the problem with all of this is when I say, oh, when you lose a respectable game, you're like, oh, I'm tired of this, bro. I've been watching this for 20 years. What do you mean respectable? It's been disrespectful for 20 years to me. So today is just an extension of all the crap that's gone on since the early 2000s, when they were actually, a great program. So I get it. I understand all of that. And, I see Troy Ortiz, who's notoriously a negative person on the chat board as it is. But he's like, oh, be patient. I've been patient for 20 years. And that's the problem, that you're lumping everything in together, and you can compartmentalize the whole thing and separate what's going on now and kind of clean the slate and say, okay, because you've been waiting for 20 years, for you, next year is 21 and 22, not year 2 or 3 in Mario's tenure. So I get when I say, hey, they lost a respectable game, and they did today. They lost a respectable game. North Carolina was better. I don't give a shit what Vegas said, to be quite honest with you. Okay, that's why I put it as my lock yesterday on the show.
Okay.
That was my A. Lenny Locksmith lockdown segment. I said you got to take UNC plus 3.5. They're the better team. They're going to win the game. So let's also not sit here and be unrealistic, and you're shocked that UNC won.
No. I don't think anybody is.
So then it is a respectable loss.
Yeah. I'm not shocked that they won, because
You would have been shocked if they won.
I would have been shocked if Miami kicked their ass, right? But look, college football, man, like we talked about the parity pregame. We talked about almost nothing should shock me. You want to know what to me is more shocking than college football? The NFL. I think the NFL is kind of more unpredictable than college football in a sense.
Sometimes.
I feel like that sometimes, but just a tough loss, man. Tough pill to swallow. I'm curious to see what the coaches say on Monday, especially Coach Gaddis, because he's going to be asked about the red zone again. But one thing I want to point out, Kevin Steele got that offense figured out in the second half. You go from UNC scoring 21 points in the first 2 quarters, 1 touchdown in the first quarter, 2 touchdowns in the second quarter. UNC scored 6 points in the second half. I get it. Miami only scored a touchdown, and that coming in the fourth quarter. But the defense is something that, Kevin Steele, and I'm sorry, but I'm taking that guy's knowledge. That guy's the smartest guy in the room when it comes to defense. He's seen it all. Nothing surprises that guy. And it's probably just a sense of he needs more dudes, how they call it, more of Mario's guys, because look what he's doing with the players that he has right now. Texas A&M was supposed to run all over Miami, throw all over Miami. They didn't. MTSU did. All right. He took that one, fell on the sword for his team on Monday, said any mistakes that the defense makes, any of them. You saw the press conference. He says that they're on me. I love it and I hate it, because guess what? Now anything that happens, it's on you.
Right. And here we go with Troy. Troy, by the way, I just want you to know you're full of crap. Okay? All right? You see me right here? I'm looking at you right in the camera, baby. You're full of crap. He goes, remember before the season we were talking about winning 9 or 10 games? I wasn't. What? You thought they were going to beat Texas A&M and Clemson just off the bat? Really? Really? You really thought they were going to beat that? The math doesn't jive there with 10 already. It's 12 on the season or 11?
I think it's 12.
12. So that's 10 already right there. Come on, man. So they were going to run the table and win all the rest of the games. That's what happens with fans. You guys put your own unrealistic expectations on the team, And when they don't meet your unrealistic expectations, Troy, you get pissed at them. Come on, man. You thought they were going to run the table. Like, how is Mario supposed to fix all the problems that they had starting the season? You knew they didn't have receivers. Did you not know that, Troy? Because I think we talked about it the entire offseason. There were no receivers. They were dropping everything. So without receivers, you were expecting them to run the table outside of Clemson and Texas A&M. Please explain to me how stupid that is. I'd love to hear your explanation on that one. And that's where, and that right there, Troy, is why fans are fanatical, because you're not realistic, my brother. Okay? So for the UM fans that were thinking you were going to be something special, winning 10 games, come on, man. That's your fault. A team that still had an offensive line mess. You don't know if you really have any good pass rushers overall, okay? Going into the season, you had no receivers, and then now you're adding a new system on both offense and defense. Come on, man. Yeah, I had high expectations this year. Well, that's why you are who you are, my brother, because you had unrealistic expectations, not high expectations. Let's get that right. Let's use proper English. You were uneducated and you had unrealistic expectations. Okay? It wasn't an educated opinion, Troy. If you had high expectations, you're not educated on this. You want to keep digging yourself in a hole with me here? Because I'll keep burying you even deeper if you want, Troy.
Oh, be nice.
No, I mean, it's just ridiculous. Let's go. Let's go.
Up next for Miami,
Let's go.
At Virginia Tech Lane Stadium. The last time Miami was there, COVID year, they pulled out a win. Manny Diaz found a way to get that done. It's going to be a 12:30 kickoff, okay? 12:30 kickoff, Lane Stadium, next Saturday, the 15th. For all as bad, and all talked about it, is Virginia Tech has looked, you can't take anybody for granted. I know that they lost to Old Dominion, all right? I didn't even know where Old Dominion was until I had to look it up. They're in the state of Virginia. Like, I had no idea. But you heard Coach Cristobal, no Arroyo, all right, for the remainder of the season. Somebody told me that they saw him at a Publix on crutches and a knee brace, all right?
Who?
Arroyo.
Oh, okay.
Right? I mean, not that he – you know what?
Well, he just said he was done for the year anyway. So.
You can't miss something you never had, right? Because it's not like he was incorporated into the offense.
Right, yeah.
He should have been, but he hasn't.
Right.
And so that's what's up next for Miami, another ACC game.
Well, you know what? Somebody's asking, and this is a good question. Big O, is it fair to say Mario and his staff are doing the best they can with what they currently have on the team? I will say, I think overall, yes, but I'm going to put a little caveat. Josh Gaddis, not very happy with him. Okay? Because he waited till now to add, although he added a little bit of hurry up last week.
Middle Tennessee State, yeah.
Not as much, but he should have added it from the get-go, from week one. And to me, that is bad coaching on Gaddis's part. So now remember, Gaddis is not a guy that's worked with Mario for years. So this is new to him because remember, his guy stayed in Oregon, if I believe.
Yes.
Correct. He took another job. He took a head coaching job, actually. Yeah, he got a head coaching job. So Mario couldn't use the guy that he's been with as the offensive coordinator, so he hired Gaddis. So there might be a little bit of a transitional period between the two and trying to figure things out. I'm sure he's being respectful to a point of you got to let the coach and see if you get the results. You know what I'm saying? But it's a great question you ask because I'll tell you this. I'd like to see Mirabal and the offensive staff get a little bit more out of the offensive line. I'm not telling you to make them beasts because you don't have beasts there. But I'd like to see a little bit more production out of the offensive line. And then on Gaddis, I'd like to see more production on offense and and creativity, like Mike has mentioned, and a great point that he makes. The fade pattern is not there, and you have big bodies, and you don't even try it.
And that's something that you don't even need to execute.
Yeah.
Go out there. Go land over out there. Let me throw you the ball. There's not much executing there. It's win the 50-50 battle, right?
Yeah. So, So my answer to that would be, I think Mario's doing overall a pretty good job with what he has, but two of his assistant coaches, I'd like to see them get a little bit more. I don't think they're maximizing what at least they have. Let's put it that way. Again, it's not great what they have, but they got to be able to do a little better than what they have right now.
That's a fair assessment, and I don't disagree with that. You want to know what I noticed today? And I'm sure I'm not the only one that noticed it, but I think it was TVD's very first touchdown pass. I forgot who he threw it to. That was off of an RPO, all right, where he was successful, where he looked like a Heisman. You know, the reason why he became a Heisman, not front runner, but mentioned for the Heisman coming into the season, because he was successful, in RPO situations last year.
Keyshawn Smith, by the way,
caught that first touchdown. It was an RPO. Looked like he'd been doing it blindfolded his whole life.
Mm-hmm.
So, and the thing about people that want tempo, you're gonna get it, but you're gonna get it in doses. You're not gonna get it full-fledged Rhett Lashley, because guess what? You don't want your defense out there in 30 seconds. You don't want that. You don't want that. And, that was the case a lot of times with Rhett Lashley. And, it was first down, incomplete, second down, incomplete, third down, it was a run up the gut. And we all know how that transpired. So in doses, probably need to see a little bit more of that. But in the red zone is where Gaddis is failing. And I probably mentioned this before, at least I know I mentioned it on my show on Tuesdays. I don't know if I mentioned it here on post-game or pre-game. But if anybody's done their homework on Josh Gaddis and go look at what that Michigan offense looked like last season, same thing. They were great at scoring points when they got in the red zone. They weren't great at scoring touchdowns in the red zone. Number one. Number two, Mario was uncharacteristically aggressive today. I mean, you kind of like to see it, going for it on a lot of fourth downs and situations where I thought he'd punt and he didn't, and ended up, biting him in the butt. So it's like everybody that wanted him to be aggressive against Texas A&M, he ended up getting field goals today. Kind of wish he got the field goals, because they probably would have won the game.
All right, let's get to it, baby. Let's get to our Caneswear Miami Hurricanes post-game report with, of course, the one and only Manny Navarro. Manny?
What's going on, guys?
I got to tell you, listen, man, I know it wasn't perfect. They made their mistakes. They hung in there, man. I got to give them credit. Listen, I didn't pick them to win. I didn't expect them to win. I told everybody take North Carolina in the points. I had no idea why Vegas picked them. So I'm not going to sit here and act surprised that North Carolina won. But overall, did they have chances? Could they have avoided some mistakes? Yeah, but I got to say they hung in there at least, man. I got to give them a little credit for hanging in there.
I agree with you 100%. No, I mean, I think ultimately here, this is it's a tough game to swallow, because it's the same mistakes that beat them, right? You give up the big play, you get in the red zone, you can't punch it in, you lose a fumble. Jalen Knighton, second game in a row, he loses a fumble, and then drops, right, at different opportunities where you could have made a play, and you just, brain slippage, so to speak. So, it is what it is, man. They're 2-3. I was worried this was going to be much worse. Oh, you and I talked about it. I thought North Carolina would have won this game by 2 touchdowns. And in the end, they showed me something in terms of not quitting on Mario and quitting on the season. And the one thing I'll say is, yes, North Carolina won today. Yes, North Carolina has the tiebreaker over Miami. But just look at the Coastal Division, right? Georgia Tech's won 2 games now. Anything can happen. And I'm not saying Miami's going to turn their season around and run the table now. I still think this is a flawed team. But I would say this. I don't think 4-8 or 5-7 is going to happen anymore. And that was my fear, that they would emotionally break down in the locker room and just quit. And today, at least, they showed me that's not in the cards for them. That's not the team that they want to be.
Go ahead, Mikey.
Thanks for coming on, Manny. Other than what Coach was talking about in the post game and talking about mistakes and everything like that, what kind of sense do you get from, I don't know who else spoke in the post game, other players or what have you, but Coach looks like he ran a mile before getting to the podium. He looked like he was on one.
Yeah.
are the guys down? Because as a fan, you look at the game, I kind of feel like how I did after A&M. It's like, even though it's the same thing, it's a loss. It's like they're right there. Do you get that sense from the players, or are they like, man, when are we going to figure it out? How are we going to figure it out? Is it more of an up team or a down team right now?
Yeah, I mean that was my number one concern too, man. Like I that was my question to all three players that spoke. I was in there for Tyler, I was in there for DJ Ivey, I was in there for Will Mallory, those three guys, and then somebody else came in, but I left because I wanted to come on and talk to you guys. My feeling is like I said, the locker room hasn't given up. Now, are they going to be able to get up, for every single game going forward? Are they going to play this way? I don't know. Injuries happen, transfers happen, guys become selfish, right? But right now, in this moment, I don't get the sense from Tyler or any of those guys. I asked all three of them, do you get the sense this locker room's going to fall apart? And the answer was no. Our guys are together. And I think, again, Miami was 2-4 last year. This is the third time since 2019 they've started 2-3. They fought back and made bowl games each of those seasons. I think that was my number one concern after what I saw against Middle Tennessee State. This team's going to quit. Everybody's going to separate. There's going to be transfers because that's what these kids do nowadays, right? They think about themselves. I think right now, leaving the stadium, my opinion is that's not going to happen with this group.
Manny, there were a slew of recruits there, a ton of them. We talked about this in the pregame show, and we talked about it with Gabby. If it was a respectable loss, which I have to call this a respectable loss, I don't think it was going to hurt recruiting. Now a disgusting loss, that might have crippled recruiting there, and you might have had some kids running out of the building, pretty much. So what are you hearing, and what do you feel about that?
Yeah, well, I haven't had a chance to talk to any of the recruits yet, but I did talk to Larry Bluestein before the game, and Larry, of course, is just as plugged in as anybody here in South Florida when it comes to, recruiting and so forth. And we talked about it pregame. He said, look, in his opinion, the majority of the kids were saying, I want to go to Miami because I feel like I can go in and play right away. And that matters to a lot of the kids. I don't know what Gabby told you guys pregame, but I think the feeling, my experience as well, is as long as it's not an embarrassing defeat, right? As long as it's not something that makes them feel like the program is lost and the players feel like, hey, I can come in and help. I think that helps Miami. So I think as long as there's no more Middle Tennessees on this schedule, right? No more losses to bad teams, and they show up and they play the way they're supposed to, then I think you'll get buy-in from the recruits.
Well, hey, next week, brother, Vatek, that's a terrible team.
Yeah.
You better win that game. And you know what?
Agree.
You're not going at nighttime where everybody's liquored up in Blacksburg and all that good stuff. Nah, it's a 12:30 game. They haven't been able to drink a lot of moonshine. You got to take advantage of it, bro.
I agree 1,000%. I'll be going up to Blacksburg for that game, so I'll be up there to see and gauge the temperature pregame. But again, my feeling coming out of this, the fact that they fought back in the second half, right? And the fact that, down 21-7, that to me was such a key moment, that drive where Tyler led them down the field, threw the touchdown pass to Henry Parrish in the end zone where he had a guy draped all over him. Mm-hmm. That score and then the pick right after, it was like, okay, they got this jolt of energy. My feeling, okay, my fear always is the broken locker room. And I think as long as they can avoid that, then they're going to get better, and they should win some games, because I do think the coaching is better. I think, we could sit here and criticize Kevin Steele, right, and say, hey, why are you still giving up 74-yard touchdown passes? Why are they still hitting on 52-yard posts over the middle? Why aren't guys covering what they're supposed to cover? They shut down a pretty good quarterback after that. After they got to 21, 2 field goals, 2 interceptions. They kind of got their act together.
The 2 interceptions is double what he threw so far going into the game.
Correct. And so, look, is North Carolina a playoff team? No. Is North Carolina going to win the ACC? No. But they're one of the better teams in this conference. You've lost 3 in a row to them, 4 in a row now. They're not a bad team. Mac Brown's a good coach. They've got a good staff. They've got talent. They're the 3rd most talented team in the conference, based on what the recruiting rankings tell you.
Hey, Manny, one of the things that I told Mike in the pregame, I said, you know why I fear this game? Well, just look what's going on the last couple of years. Mm-hmm. Is it Miami's quarterback in the NFL?
No.
Is it Miami's running backs in the NFL? Is it, you know what I'm saying? Like North Carolina is starting to produce more players going in the NFL than Miami. And And here we go, freshman quarterback coming into town, and you're like, they got another one.
Yeah.
You know, it's like, and the pregame guy that we had on, he was like, everybody said that he would be better than Howell. It was, and people were like, "You're crazy! That how's May going to be better than Howell?" And sure enough, he's been better than Howell, and that's why you have to respect him, dude, because they're actually getting better talent than Miami, and that's where Mario has to get back to. He has to get back to bringing the elite players here.
Yeah, and look, recruiting. The only way you're going to change things here is by recruiting not just talented players, but hungry players that hate losing, and don't want to accept it. Like, hey, this is going to kill me. I'm going to be angry over this for a week until we win a game, until we start to get things right. And that's just in the DNA of guys, and ultimately Mario has to recruit his own players here to get them to start playing the way that he wants them to play, to show the kind of attitude that he wants them to show consistently. So we'll see.
Manny, you're not allowed to be patient on this show. Sorry, just letting you know that's frowned upon. But look, to your point about Steele adjusting, you said it. You backed up what I said. He allowed 6 points in the second half after allowing 21 points in the first half. That first touchdown of the game for UNC, that came after a play in which, Kevin Steele dialed up. James Williams was in the hole, in the box, filled his lane, missed a tackle. Didn't wrap up. It's things like that. And then, a 74-yard touchdown after that. And then the other thing I wanted to ask you about is, made a good point. Like, if you have Mallory as your leading, pass catcher, I don't think that's so much of a terrible thing, but it is if you don't have – it makes it easier for the defense to zero in on you if your playmakers on the outside aren't being playmakers on the outside. We all knew Gaddis was a tight ends guy who was going to cater to the tight ends, and, he liked using tight ends as a weapon. But with Arroyo being out, I thought we'd see a little bit more of Brantley. They didn't. But can you kind of, just your reaction about that? Mallory going 8 for 15. Yeah, the big drop, but he had probably his best game as a Cane.
Yeah, I tweeted out that he ate his Wheaties because he looked like a different guy, man. He really did. He looked like so motivated to really do well. Yeah. And listen, Will's a super nice kid. I hope he does. He continues to have the kind of season he has tonight. The rest of the season. Will he be that guy consistently? I don't know. I've never really seen him be that consistent. I hope he does. I don't think it matters who catches the ball as long as Tyler Van Dyke is having the kind of night that he had tonight, where he's putting up numbers and the offense is moving down the field. Now, look, I thought Gaddis called a good game except for 4 plays. Okay, in the red zone, that was horrific. I think outside of that,
wait a minute, the 4th and 2, where Dyke is in a shotgun, and you're like, yo, and he's waiting for a play to develop. What play did you call? Because it was short. It should be snap and throw, and you're waiting, and you end up getting the sack in midfield. And I'm wondering, what play call did they make? And
right.
Listen, kudos to them, Manny, because they were aggressive today. They took some chances on 4th down several times. So I give them props for, hey, man, we can't screw around. If we got an opportunity, we need to, take advantage, because we don't get a lot of points in the first place.
Right. No, look, 5 plays then. I'll throw that one in there as well. You got to hit the slant on that and just get rid of the ball quickly and just pick up the first down. Outside of that, though, look, he made the adjustment for TVD. Okay, he did. He let him run a more of a spread tempo offense, like we all were saying he needed to do. Right. The bottom line is they're just not having success running the football, and that's a problem that they've got to fix now. And look, it looks like Justice Oluwashun has a serious injury. He's your starting right guard. Ja'Kai Clark came back, was on the sideline in the second half, even though he was knocked out of the game. I don't think that injury is as severe, but you're going to have a new starter on the offensive line. Zion Nelson's going to have to come back here at some point. They need him to play one of those tackle spots. You can kick DJ Scaife inside. So I think that'll help the running game when Zion comes back. But, look, 41 yards rushing today. I think they had 43 or something like that against Middle Tennessee State. 1.9 yards rushing. That has to change here in the weeks ahead. They've got to be able to run the ball.
I just wanted to say something really quick. Manuel Soto, do you know what USC brought with them? They brought with them Caleb Williams, which is the same guy that coached under him. Coached was being, what the hell am I? You got me so pissed off that I don't even know what I'm saying right now. Go look up Caleb Williams, okay? And stop saying that USC turned their program around when Caleb Williams was at Oklahoma last year. And they probably have the best receiver in college football. Thank you, sir.
And by the way, Manny, just to kind of piggyback on what you were talking about, and I'm not here to defend Gaddis because I'm kind of critical of him, but in his defense also, hard to run an offense when you have no threats on the outside. Hard to run an offense when you can't run the ball because it's so obvious that you've got to be a passing team. Because, dude, look, I mean, you average less than 2 yards a carry today against a terrible defense.
Well, listen, North Carolina's got athletes, okay? It's not like this was
I know, but
Middleton.
they're not a good defense. They're just not a good defense.
They've had 2 games in a row that weren't bad. And to me, look, the other guys get paid to coach too, right? I mean, Gene Chiswick's won a national championship as a coach. He had a terrible start to the season, you know, with this UNC group. But he's got a lot of young guys. I broke down their defense and analyzed it, you know, before the Virginia Tech game. I mean, they've got 4- and 5-star guys, but a lot of them are in their first or second year. So it's kind of like, okay, when do those guys turn the corner? I think tonight, look, it's predictable that Miami can only run certain things with this offense because of their personnel. So they've got to get creative and figure out different ways to run the football. Do I know what that is? No. But just Josh Gaddis' job now to fix that. I think, number one, he fixed the passing game, right? He fixed Tyler Van Dyke. He put some confidence in him. He allowed him to throw some short passes, quick passes, get into a role, develop a rhythm. He fixed that problem. Now he's got to get the running game fixed here in the weeks ahead. I think Virginia Tech's almost the perfect opponent, right? I mean, this is a team that's they've been crushed now 2 or 3 weeks in a row. They just gave up 300 yards rushing to Pitt's star running back at 6 touchdowns. So to me, you know, it's a progression. Miami was the worst rushing team in the ACC last year. Okay, let's not forget that. They were dead last in rushing. Yes, they played well the first couple games, but that was Southern Miss and Bethune-Cookman, right? And so, again, it's one of these deals. Guys are banged up. You don't have Zion Nelson. I'm not looking to make excuses for the guy, but I just think it's sort of like you have to put out one fire and then move on to the next. Yeah. And right now, the most important fire that needed to be put out was that you got Tyler Van Dyke playing at a high level again. And as long as that's happening, you have a chance to win every game.
Follow him on Twitter at Manny_Navarro. Catch his work at The Athletic. Make sure you subscribe to The Athletic. Manny, as always, appreciate you, my brother. We will catch you again on Tuesday night for the State of Florida Gridiron Roundtable, my friend. Appreciate you.
All right, guys. Take care. Good talking to you.
You got it. There you go. Manny Navarro and our Caneswear Miami Hurricanes post-game report.
If you're a Miami sports fan, then there's only one store to go to, and that's Caneswear at Miami Fanwear in Davie. They're your one-stop shop for all your Inter Miami CF, Canes, Dolphins, Panthers, and Marlins merchandise. They have hats, t-shirts, game day jerseys, and so much more. Located at 2511 South University Drive in Davie, and open 24/7 online at caneswear.com or intermiamiwear.com. Call them at 954-835-5597. Caneswear, the spot where Inter Miami and all Miami sports fans shop.
All right. We thank Manny Navarro as always. And remember, folks, on Tuesday nights, this man does the Miami Hurricanes watch. And Gabby Arrudia is going to be joining him every single week there on the program. And I host the State of Florida Gridiron Roundtable with Manny Navarro, with Ira Schofel from War Chant, and with Kevin Brockway from the Canesville Sun. So we go around the state. We talk Canes, Florida State, and Florida. That is Tuesday nights, 7 to 8 p.m., and then 8 p.m. to 9 p.m. That gentleman there hosts the Miami Hurricanes Watch. So if you are a college football fan, if you're a Canes fan, you got some Canes talk for 2 hours. If you like your Seminoles or your Gators, well, guess what? During the roundtable, you'll get 2 of the guys that cover the teams, and they're on the beat and breaking it down. Ira Schofel has been an institution in Tallahassee for a long, long time, and Kevin Brockway's been covering the Gators for a while too, and in a couple of different stints, and he's covered them at the highest level too, even when Stanky Fingers was there running the show. And winning a couple titles. Kevin Brockway was also on the beat. So If you're a college football fan, make sure you tune in on Tuesday nights here on the platform. Subscribe. Make sure you hit the notification bell. That way you know when we're on. Remember, you can always make a donation to the program on Cash App or Venmo at Cash Big O Show. That's Cash Big O Show. You can even donate some Bitcoin if you want over on Cash App too. And, of course, we've got the Super Chat going on as always. So many ways. Reach out to our sponsors. Come on out here to WalkOns. Come on, join us next Saturday, man. We'll be here before they open. They open at 11 a.m. So we're going to be on the air at 10:30 before the restaurant opens. But hey, next week you can come on in at 11 a.m. Get ready for the 12:30 start, and we're going to have a blast, man. And hopefully we'll get a win this time against Vatek. Plus, we're going to have prizes, things like that. So Troy Ortiz, you can come on over, okay? Well, maybe you can win a prize, and that'll make you happy. Dean Fulford says, let's go Tar Heels. There we go. There you go. John says, please don't tell us losing doesn't hurt recruiting. Where's the big second wave of commits Mario was talking about? Well, you're going to have to – are they supposed to, sign up now, sir?
Hold up. Let me get this. So
there's not recruiting going on.
So – first of all, if Miami fans don't know this about Mario yet, I'll be the first one to break the news to you. He doesn't let anything leave the building. Okay, there's guys that Miami's recruiting that other schools think that they are not recruiting that Miami's totally in the fold for. Okay, that's number one. Number two, Mario doesn't leak anything to the media. Sometimes he leaks false information to the media to find out who's leaking the false information so that way he doesn't tell them anything anymore. We're not supposed to know anything as fans, okay? Because we're fans. We're not supposed to know anything about what's going on inside that program. So if there's no news, that's good news. Don't worry about when the second wave is coming. It's October. Signing date is in December. And by the way, there's another one.
While to go, man.
And there's another one in February. Have you seen any decommits? I'd worry about decommits more than I worry about another verbal commitment.
Yeah, it's again, we're still only months into the process. We're not even a year into the process, so it's up to the folks, to those of you out there that want to show any kind of patience. You don't want to be patient, I can't help you guys there. I can't help you guys. I'm certainly not going to judge somebody that just took over. Am I happy with everything? No, of course not. Why would you be? They're 2-3. They got their ass kicked and handled by Middle Tennessee State. That was disgusting. And that falls on Mario and everybody there. There's no doubt about it. But it's not like, oh, my God, I got to fire him and go get a new staff. I mean, that's not the case right now. And Dabo Swinney started off terribly at Clemson. Lots of people don't start off well sometimes when they take over a new program that's been down for 15, 20 years. Not a program that was down for a year. No. There's a program that's been down for 15 plus years. That's a lot of losing. That's a consistent wave of having the wrong people and the wrong players in the building. You don't fix it in a couple months. So, it's just the way it is. And that's the way it's going to be. And if you guys don't want to, be patient, it is what it is. What are you going to do?
I mean, to me as a sports fan, it's just, we're all adults in here. We're all been following sports for a really, really long time. I don't get how anybody knee jerks in any sport.
Well, it happens all the time.
I don't get it, though, because if you've been doing something for a long time, don't you know what and what not to do and what not to expect? I mean, you shouldn't knee jerk even after Miami looked good.
I don't know. I don't know. If you're a Broncos fan, you're not knee jerking right now. When you have Cam Cameron, you're not knee jerking. So yeah, I got to tell you, I quit on Manny Diaz after the first year.
Oh wow,
I did.
Wow.
Because it was so inept, and it continued to be inept. I actually his coaching was just absolutely terrible, and so that was a problem for me when I had players on the sidelines laughing, and I get
that. He had no control.
No, Cam Cameron lost me right away. So There have been moments where I've been knee-jerked and it's actually worked out for me. So I can't say that it's not something I've done myself, because there are moments where you're like, oh my God, what am I watching
Well,
here?
at least you were right. At least you were right. What kept me around for Manny is the guy made changes.
Oh, wait a minute. Hold on a second. Mike Norville didn't look good to me from the get-go.
No.
For 2 years already, I was like, I was pretty much off his bandwagon, so I might be wrong there.
Yeah.
If Norville continues on this direction, I might be wrong there. Just because I nailed it on the Dolphin and the Kane side sometimes doesn't mean I get it right all the time. So the Norville one, I might be wrong on that one.
We'll see. Like you said, like we were talking about earlier, they've been looking good so far, but they're now in kind of the meat of their schedule. They already lost to Wake. They got who do they got? They got NC State today, top 10 team. That's on the road, so we'll see. That game should be on right about now.
Yeah, and listen, like Swerve, the old you is gone, not coming back. The old you will never come back.
No, never.
That's not going to happen where you won all those titles in a short amount of time. That's never going to happen. But can they come back? Of course they can. Look at the Tennessee Volunteers. They've been out just like the Canes forever. Since they fired Philip Fulmer, they never recovered. And look now, they might just be back. All right? And people are looking at them as one of the better teams now in the SEC. And that's without one of their better players, and they're kicking ass. When they get Tillman back, that's going to be just another beast that they're going to add to that team. If you have the resources, and this is the key, folks, they now have the resources. They hadn't had the resources for 15 plus years. That's why college football went, and passed them up, because they kept in the cheap zone of football, and they weren't spending and they weren't doing anything. This is the first year that they're now spending like the big schools and going and now being in the game for the big players. That's why, but it's going to take a little bit to kind of turn all of this around. It doesn't happen right away. And that's the part of the equation that a lot of you that are giving up, you're not thinking about. They never had the money to spend for top coaches and assistants. They never had the money to have the best resources. That's why they built a practice facility that's 80 yards. Come on, dude. You built a practice facility that's 80 yards. That's disgusting. Okay? And so now you're going to extend the building. Now you're going to make it the way it's supposed to be. Now you're going to do the things that you're supposed to do that you weren't doing in the process. So all of that's going to change. But that just started. Right. All these other programs, even if they've changed coaches, they've been spending money forever. So their facilities are sick. Right.
And it sounds like it doesn't matter.
Live in reality.
But it does. Like, these kids want the facilities. They want the uniforms. They want this. They want that, whatever. But give me the guy that just wants to come in and work and play and loves football. And that's the type of guy that I'm telling you. Again, look at what I talked about, the grades, the individual grades from players versus the MTSU game. Let's wait for Pro Football Focus to come out with their grades for players in this game. I'm willing to bet two things: that number one, it's a bunch of guys in the trenches, and number two, it's a bunch of transfers that Mario brought in.
Yeah, I'm just not the biggest on the PFF stuff. I'm not a big believer in their consistency, because they don't really. I don't think you can really measure it from play to play. You don't know exactly who you're facing. Like you talk about North Carolina's, let's say nose tackle today. Okay, so you faced the third string center. So you graded out well. Great. Did you do it on a curb? You know what I'm saying? And so these are things that sometimes, so are you grading him the same? Are you grading the corner the same way when he's playing Northeast Valley Union and Alabama? Okay, you know what I'm saying? So he had two excellent games. So are the grades the same?
I hear what you're saying.
Or he had an average game against Alabama, but he had an exceptional game against North Valley Union. So that higher grade is lifting the Alabama grade. And so that's my problem with PFF. And they don't really know the plays called. So somebody may have made a tackle 7 yards down, after the line of scrimmage. So they're getting kind of a negative where they made the tackle, but actually it wasn't their tackle to be made. They came from the other side of the field. Mm-hmm. So are you grading them because that tackle is a lot deeper into the, you know what I'm saying? There are so many scenarios. I sat there once with a scout, and he gave me like 40 examples.
Wow.
While we were smoking cigars.
Wow.
I'll tell you another one. I'm like, I was just laughing my ass off there. And it's like, okay, you made your point. And, it's like one of those deals that the pros don't really use it because it cannot really measure from play to play what's going on, So it's like, oh, no, yeah, watch out. He played really well last week. Yeah, no, he played against a third-string defensive end. Yeah, no. Aaron Donald was off that week. It's like one of those kind of deals. So that's why you have to be very careful with PFF and their stats because it can't be accurate because it's not really the reality that is there. So we shall see. All right, next week it'll be Vatek. We will be on the air at 10:30 in the morning, getting you ready. So your requirement is to be here. We're going to have Edge Energy Drink. Lovely lady from Edge Energy Drink is going to be serving some up. You can mix it up if you want. We're going to have some prizes also. Folks from Caneswear. Going to talk to my friends at Perdomo Cigars. So we'll have all kinds of giveaways out here next week at WalkOns. So come on out here and join us. We got to thank Chad, who started it off, and of course, the executive producer of this entire platform, the man that masters it all, the master himself, the Sean Stanley. We got to thank him. We thank all of the folks that tuned in. Thank you for visiting our amazing sponsors and supporting us. Don't forget to hit the notification bell, hit the like button, subscribe. Mike, thank you as always, my brother. It is a pleasure to work by your side, sir. And we thank all of you, and we thank everyone out here, all right, at WalkOns. And we got to thank Jason Semino, the executive chef, who cooks up some delicious food out here. I'm telling you, man. Yanira, the manager, thank you, Yanira, as always. And Joe, the general manager, thank you all out there and all the great people out here for making it nice and easy for us. We'll be back here at WalkOns next week. We'll see you here, WalkOns in Kendall. You all have a great one. Have a safe night, and go Canes.
This has been the Edge Energy Drink Miami Hurricanes Postgame Show on the Sports Talk 305 Network. Live from Walk-On Sports Bistro in Kendall. The show is mastered by Sean Stanley and Chad Shope. When you're looking for the finest energy drink on the planet, you can only get it delivered to your home or office by going to myedgedrink.com. Use your code Big O and get 10% off an energy drink that's delicious, smooth, and has zero aftertaste. Please subscribe to our platform by searching Big O Radio Show on all digital avenues. On behalf of our staff, we thank you for supporting us. Have a fantastic week.